How you doing? How you doing? This is Pix. Today we're taking a look at the new DLC for MX vs ATV Legends, which is the Element Bike Pack. That brings 3 new classes into the game. That is the Element branded 50cc 2-stroke, the 110 4-stroke, and the 500cc 2-stroke. All of this is available now with all new physics to the pit bikes, and it's only $5 US, so pretty cheap for added 3 new classes. But that's not all, so here's the unique cool thing about the new DLC. If you don't end up purchasing the Element Bike Pack, or you want to try before you buy, you can actually jump into an online custom lobby with a friend who does have the DLC and take the free rentals for a spin. You won't be able to customize or tune any of the bikes, but you will have the classic rental skin, which is pretty funny, but also allows you to play with your mates without being locked out of this new DLC content. So we'll jump over to the bikes themselves. This is the Element 50EX. It is a 2-stroke 50cc single gear bike. They're modeled off more traditional style motocross bikes instead of the old fantasy THQ rainbow bikes. Personally, I think it looks a lot better. These are backyard design graphics. There's also some graphics from Rival Inc. and Slaco that we'll go over in a minute. This is the 110 4-stroke. It is 4 gears. Personally, one of my favorites. And then we've got the 500cc 2-stroke, which is your traditional 5 gears. Lots of fun, handles a lot different to the 450s. It's a bit heavier and just feels a bit bulkier around the track, which we'll go over in a minute. So we'll take a look at some of the graphics kits that we have for now. This is the stock version that you're going to see when you first jump into the game, and then we've got the Monster Energy Slaco kit that we've all seen, the standard Backyard Designs Yellow, Rival Link, Smite, which is fully customizable, no plastics, and then we've got the Element Matte, which is the stock set for matte graphics. And then the same kits for the 500s. You're going to see here they're pretty random colors. I've had a bit of a play around just to see what colorways I like best, but having all these options is always good, so it'll be good to see what you guys can come up with. Now this is where things get a little bit different with the parts. The 500 is going to be the same as what we're all used to in the base game, but some of these options aren't going to be available for the 50s, such as the suspension. 50 and the 110 have upside down forks, so there's only one set for those. They also have drum brakes, so you're not going to be able to have the disc options, but maybe they'll add more parts in the future if there's demand for it. All right, that's enough yapping. Let's get this 50 out onto the track and see how it handles. And straight away, you really feel how responsive the little nimble bikes are. How you kind of expect them. Like they've done a good job at kind of mimicking the physics for a 50. Not that it's realistic in any sense, but it just fits into how the game physics work in general. Like I imagine a lot of good racing is going to come from this. They're pretty easy to ride, but I would say that they're going to be difficult to master in a sense that you've got to keep up your momentum. Like a lot of outside corners need to be taken on, depending on what track you're on. Obviously, this one isn't too bad for the 50. You can clear most things pretty easily. Sometimes you can get up onto the top of this. Definitely a lot easier on the 110. But you can see now how easy it turns. It just wants to turn on a dime to the point where you can slide out super easy. So throttle management's going to be a big play with these. You know, you just can't full throttle it everywhere. There's a bit of a balance, so there's going to be a bit of a skill gap in that sense, which is nice to see in this game. I do think they need to add those skill gaps where they can, and these bikes are doing a good job of doing that. So keeping the momentum up is going to be crucial for these. But in terms of jumping, it's a bit like the 125, where they're underpowered, but you can get a good seat bounce and preload and clear most things. It's great. It's fine. And by most things, I mean that are suited for the 50. You're not going to go clear Larocco's Leap on this thing, but challenge accepted, I suppose. Now we'll jump over to the 110. This thing handles the same as the 50. It should look pretty well identical, but the one big difference is this thing absolutely hooks. It rips real fast, so you can do some big jumps. You'll be able to take this into supercross lobbies online and be competitive, that's for sure. But, you know, same with the 50, throttle management's going to be a big thing. Having wide arcing lines to get some of the bigger jumps. Here on Redbud, pit bike track, outside lines are pretty key for the pit bikes to clear everything. You can still get that seat bounce and preload. I mean, if you get that perfect, much like the 125, you're going to be able to clear a lot of the things, even though the bike feels quite underpowered. And again, this thing turns and stops on a dime, and you can just throw it around and have fun. They're actually really good to kind of whip out and, you know, do flips and things like that, which would be a lot of fun in freeride. So I'm keen to try that out a bit more in the future. Now I'll jump onto the 500. This thing absolutely rails. Its handling's, it's a little bit hard. So if you've been one of the people that's actually able to get the 500 in a lobby and choose the playlist little exploit thing that you do to get a hold of it, you can't change the handling. And I have to say the handling is one of the things that you've got to change on this thing, because even with the right handling, this thing is a handful. It's hard to turn, so you're going to be using a lot of rear brake to get this thing to pivot in corners to use the power. I actually think it could probably do with a bit more tweaking in terms of how it feels. It probably is a bit too tankish. I mean, I've never ridden a 500 in real life, so I can't compare it to how a 450 4-stroke feels. But in terms of having it in MX vs ATV Legends, I feel like it just needs to be a bit more power, a bit more playful. It's got the power, but without the handling, you can't really use that power other than in straight lines. Like for the GNCC tracks or the invitationals, you know, you can get this thing up to 130, 140 kilometers an hour. The thing hooks, but it doesn't turn that well. And I've tried with different handling, different slip tires, different suspension. I just can't get it to where I want. This is the best I got it at the moment, but I'll potentially do a setup video on the pit bikes and this, but I just want to see if there's going to be any updates, and I might hold off until they come through before I put that out there. So just touching on sounds briefly, the devs did mention that the new bikes were a good opportunity to implement the new sounds. However, due to some staff sickness and lack of time before release, they weren't able to give it the right amount of love that they were hoping to, especially the 2-strokes, but I think the 110 is sounding pretty good, minus a few little tweaks here and there. There's a weird little thing about if you go up a jump and the engine's loading, it kind of, the sound dulls down a little bit. Maybe they might fix that before release, but we'll see. So there's more things to come through, especially with the 2-stroke engines, but definitely keen to hear that grunt. Like a 500 is a pretty unique bike, and if you've heard these things on the track, they absolutely sound wild. So hopefully it gets the love it deserves. But I'll leave it there with you lads. Do you think this is good value? Personally, yeah, I think this is great. $5, I was expecting $10 or at least $20 for the 3 classes, but you know, we've got enough customization to have a little bit of fun with it. You know, if this is popular, obviously they're going to add more stuff, even hopefully, fingers crossed, some OEMs. I mean, I'd love to see some proper brand names in this, but, you know, licensing can be a fickle beast from what I'm told. So, you know, get into the Discord, you know, make sure that if you're enjoying this, you let them know. If there's any feedback you would like to see implemented into the game, jump in there and your voices will be heard. These devs have been really great with feedback. Definitely can't fault them on that. They're really putting the effort in. So I'll leave it there with you. And let me know your thoughts in the comments. Definitely keen to hear what you guys think of this, what the improvements can be made. So let me know. I'll play you out with a 110 race on 2024 Monster Energy Supercross Anaheim 1 against the MX Open Class on Legendary Difficult. Anyway, lads, see you in the next one. Peace.